That's the future of the heavyweight division, right there. That boy is so equipped. He's got so many skills, so many assets. He's unbelievable. The only thing that I worry about with Moses is the size. But ultimately, as we've seen now, size becomes irrelevant.
I even phoned Dylan. I was like, Dylan, I don't know why you're taking this fight, because this kid is on fire right now. And he's getting better and better. It's not like he's going backwards, he's going forward. Moses is on fire, so we're just going to decide who's going to go to prison when Dylan gets battered.
I think he's a good kid. I've said in the past that I think he can be a champion, and I do think, just like I said with Jared Anderson, I think Jared...
The bells are ringing across the boxing world, and they're not for celebration. They're alarm bells, warning Dillian Whyte to think twice before stepping in with Moses Itauma. From pundits to fighters, voices are growing louder, sharper, and brutally honest. This isn't just another comeback fight. It's a calculated setup that could end in humiliation or worse. And when Tony Bellew speaks, people listen. The former cruiserweight world champion has been there, felt the danger, and knows a mismatch when he sees one. His message to Whyte was crystal.
But he's the next in line. I think he's the future of the heavyweight division. I think he's an outstanding talent. I think he's got a good team around him, Ben Davison and Lee Wiley. Wiley is the brains that study everything, and they use what we call video analysis now in boxing. They're the one team.
Clear. Don't do it. Bellew didn't dress it up. He said this fight isn't a test for Itauma. It's a platform, a springboard to superstardom. Bellew went even further, comparing Moses to the elusive. Genius of Alexander Usyk, but he didn't stop at admiration. He flat out declared Moses the future king of the heavyweight division. And when a man who's shared the ring with legends warns you a storm is coming, you'd better start boarding up the windows. Whyte T is no stranger to danger. He's gone to war with Anthony Joshua.
Moses is ranked #1 now by the WBO. So if he were to fight Moses, then that puts him in the #1 spot.
Alexander Povetkin and Tyson Fury. But Moses Itauma is a different problem. This isn't just about power. It's about evolution. Itauma is young, fast, intelligent, and lethal. Against him, bravery turns into recklessness. If Whyte takes this fight, it won't be for glory. It'll be about survival. And
everything, because he knows it's last chance saloon for him. He needs the victory here. So, look, we find out just how good Moses Itauma is, I think, on the 16th of August when he boxes Dillian Whyte, because I think he wins it and wins it in style. But everyone they put in front of him so far, he's just dismantled. I think this...
Even that isn't guaranteed. Frank Warren, the shrewd promoter pulling strings behind the scenes, was blunt about the business logic. If Whyte beats Moses, he jumps the line and puts himself back in title contention. But that's a colossal if.
To see how much that Dillian Whyte has left, and could this be potential? I think it does have the potential to do what Martin McCauley did to Jared Anderson. Maybe it's too early, or maybe he passes with flying colours, and that's why you got to watch it and find out. But one thing I will say about Moses is he's a very good fighter, good little boxer, good puncher, and a lovely kid as well.
Moses isn't just another name to tick off a record. He's a nightmare waiting to happen. A polished, hungry, and terrifying prospect on the brink of global stardom. Former fighter and respected analyst Spencer Oliver isn't hedging his bets either. He doesn't see a close fight. He doesn't see a gritty war. He sees Moses dismantling Whyte in dominant, one-sided fashion, a statement win that makes the boxing world sit up and take notice. Even Tyson Fury, the Gypsy King himself, has sounded the alarm. He's studied Moses up close and called him a sponge, not as an insult, but as a warning. Itauma absorbs everything, learns fast, and evolves at a rate that's frightening. If Whyte isn't at 100%, this could end suddenly and brutally. And then there's Whyte T's own mindset. His recent interviews...
More punches than that, and I have a lot more punches than that. So, I'm not just focusing on one punch. I'm focusing more on strategy and getting to the strategic position to learn what we're learning. It's a softball, so you can't just walk up to him and learn left hook and then the same like you do on other people. So you have to set it up and timing and stuff. So
lacked the fire of his earlier days. The war cries, the chaos, the ironclad promises of destruction are gone. Now it's all about strategy and positioning. the language of a man trying to convince himself more than the public. Whyte T was never a technical purist. He was a brawler, a street dog in the ring. But up against Moses, a slick, elusive, and calculated threat, that dog won't hunt. Itauma won't stand in front of him. He'll slip, counter, and punish. And while Moses is locked in, Whyte is still trying to solve the puzzle from the outside. That alone tells you who holds the advantage before the first bell rings. The warnings aren't just from pundits. Fellow fighters are sounding the klaxon. Derek Chisora, the war-hardened veteran who's gone toe-to-toe with Fury, Usyk, and Parker, didn't mince his words. His question to Whyte was simple. Why are you doing this? That's not trash talk. That's concern. Chisora's cheeky message to Moses, don't put him to sleep too badly, was
message him. I was like, listen, I don't know why you're taking that fight, for what reason. And he goes, oh, he don't care, you're not my friend, so I was like, listen, just be careful. And I messaged Moses, I'm like, Moses, just fight him, but don't.
More than banter, it was a veiled admission that everyone expects this to end ugly. And when a man like Chisora, who's never ducked a fight in his life, tells you to reconsider, you're already on shaky ground. Let's be real. Moses Itauma isn't just a rising prospect, he's a problem. Sharp, slick, dangerous, and hungry. Whyte T, meanwhile, looks like a man dragging himself into battle with heavy legs, a worn chin, and even heavier baggage. The wear and tear is obvious. Chisora summed it up with brutal honesty. Whyte T has a better chance of hitting the lottery than beating Moses. That's not shade. That's truth. Cold, hard, undeniable truth. Whyte T is staring down a 24-year-old machine firing on all cylinders, while he himself looks like a man chasing one last payday. This fight isn't competitive. It's a warning. And from the tone of those who've been there before.
He's old, who's got always faculties right, getting trained by one of the best trainers in the United Kingdom. And then, mate, it's like, you got more chance of winning the lottery than you beating that Moses Itauma.
The ending could be very, very ugly. Dillian Whyte's last stand. The gloves are off, literally and figuratively. Pundits aren't using metaphors anymore. They're calling this fight what they believe it is. A scheduled execution. Simon Jordan, never one to sugarcoat, cut through the noise with cold business logic. Team Moses, he argued, wouldn't even consider Whyte if there were real danger. Whyte T isn't being chosen because he's a threat. He's being chosen because he's a name. A scalp with enough recognition to sell the fight, but not enough danger to derail Moses Itauma's momentum. That's the most damning part. A man who once stood on the brink of a world title is now being packaged as a stepping stone. The former co-headliner of sold-out stadium events alongside Anthony Joshua is now compared to fringe opponents like Demsey McKean. That alone says everything.
Itauma has the goods. I really do. And I do think Dillian Whyte will get sacrificed like a lamb, but I don't think he's a sacrificial lamb. I think he's an old head who still feels that, you know what, I'm gonna bring in the old school and get rid of the new school and let everybody know that this guy Itauma has no business in the ring with me. Now, if you ask me what happens in that fight, I think Dillian Whyte gets tranquilized. But stop with all this crap about Moses Itauma as a hype job. Dillian Whyte's over the hill. I tell you what, if you said I had to pick one,
Once the bell rings, the public will see why so many view this as low risk for Moses. Yes, there are still a few optimists who cling to the idea that Whyte might have one last surprise left, but even they speak cautiously. Adam Smith, known for measured words, hinted at Moses's overwhelming advantages but left the door open a crack, just enough to keep the intrigue alive. He acknowledged that while upsets happen, most insiders expect Moses to handle Whyte with ease. And why wouldn't they? Moses has passed every test, made every challenge look routine. Meanwhile, Whyte's recent form offers little reason to believe he can flip the script. Since his knockout loss to Tyson Fury, Whyte's chin, aura, and confidence have all looked vulnerable. This isn't a test of Moses's toughness. It's a test of Whyte's survival instincts. And even there, Moses holds the edge. This isn't just about punching power. It's about precision, calculation.
It's a great fight, but it'll be fascinating to see how Moses goes against Dillian. I don't think they put him in against Dillian Whyte if they think there's real jeopardy for them. I think they might get a few rounds and get asked a few more questions than possibly they've been asked by Marius Wack and Dempsey McKean. But I don't.
And ring IQ. Smith put it plainly. Moses is an unsolvable puzzle. If you throw, he counters. If you wait, he traps. If you rush, he punishes. For Whyte, A pressure fighter who built his reputation on grit and aggression, Moses is the worst possible opponent. Every mistake will be punished, every pause exploited. It's chess at lightning speed, and Whyte is still playing checkers. Moses's footwork, shot selection, and composure create the perfect storm. That's why the experts aren't hesitating in their predictions. They believe Whyte won't just lose. He'll be broken down systematically. Once Moses finds his rhythm, the momentum will be unstoppable. Andrew McCart stripped away the sentimentality and called it straight. This fight isn't about pride, redemption, or legacy. It's about business. Whyte is chasing a payday. And when a fighter steps into the ring thinking about the money instead of the mission, the war is already half lost. The truth is simple.
Very, very good, Moses Itauma. So some people might say he'll get rid of Dillian Whyte like he has the others. Maybe not. Maybe Dillian's too much for him at this stage, which is why
Whyte's name still carries weight, but the body behind it doesn't. Adele Adowai dug deeper into the psychology, pointing out what's missing. The old Whyte's edge. There was a time he would flip tables at press conferences, intimidate with his presence, and convince the room he was the baddest man alive. That edge is gone, replaced by cautious words and rehearsed strategy. The knockout scars, physical and mental, are real, and they linger. Meanwhile, Moses is just 20 years old, a teenager making hardened veterans back away. Whyte used to be the man young prospects feared. Now he's the one checking over his shoulder. The power dynamic has flipped, and that's psychological warfare at its finest. Whyte's only chance doesn't start in the ring. It starts before it. He has to bring back that presence, that belief, that aura of danger. Because Moses doesn't rattle easily. He grew up watching Whyte, and now he's ready to retire him. This isn't just another heavyweight fight. It's a crossroads. Whyte is a battle-worn warrior clinging to one last shot. Moses...
His feet and his distance and his range is so good, and he's so quick that if you commit to the punches, you're going to get countered. And if you don't, you're going to get backed up and taken out. So it's a real puzzle. There's not many heavyweights that are southpaws. Obviously, Alexander Usyk is, but he's moved up into...
This is the future. Fresh, hungry, and terrifying. For Whyte, everything is on the line. Win and he turns back the clock, reminding the world of the man who once feared no one. Lose, and lose badly, and it's over. No more redemption arcs, no more main events, just a slow fade into boxing's rearview mirror. For Moses, this is his coming out party. The night he announces himself as the new force in the division. If he flattens Whyte, the world will remember the moment the guard changed. The stakes are crystal clear. One man fighting to hold on, the other ready to take over. The storm is coming.